49ers shocked the world when they beat the Rams without a lot of key players last week, but can they do it again with more guys maybe missing against the high-powered Bucks offense? We'll discuss that and some other updates today on today's 49K Pod.
You're listening to the 49 Carats Podcast, a 49ers Goldmine production with Stephanie Sanchez.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats Podcast. I'm your host, Steph. It is Thursday, October 9th. Back here again with a Thursday show. We missed you last week because of the Thursday night football game, but I'm back with my guy, Wayne Breezy. Wayne, how you doing?
Woo! It's Thursday. Kicks off a new week. I'm glad we're not playing on Thursday. We get a little bit more time. But what a tough game we got coming up this week, and I'm excited to get into it. I'm excited to be here. We're back, baby. Let's get it. Throwback Thursday. Let's go.
Throwback Thursday, third and Thursdays for this show here, but we're gonna we were just joking. It is Throwback Thursday because we're in the mood to listen to some oldies, and I hate to call them oldies, Wayne.
That's crazy.
That makes me feel old, but
right. So it's 2000 old now. Like it's 25 years ago.
It is, yeah, kind of.
Golly, So I must the music I like must be ancient. Like, you know what I'm saying? If those are oldies, that's crazy.
Yeah, it definitely is. So we'll get back to our throwbacks after this show. But today, Wayne, you mentioned it. I mean, we got a tough matchup against the Bucks this week. And again, the 49ers were able to surprise the Rams a little bit, surprise a lot of people when they went into LA shorthanded, especially on offense, and were able to give it to the Rams. The question is, can they do it again this week? Because the question is, who's going to be available? It's not just about the guys that were missing last week. It's a possibility that those same guys are missing this week, in addition to new guys who are now hurt. So the guys that missed last week, right? Brock Purdy with this toe injury. Well, it seems like there's nothing really definitive there, but let's just say he's still not practicing, right? And by all accounts from Kyle Shanahan, from John Lynch, they're not giving a ton of clarity, but what they are saying is we're just going to give him as much time as he needs until he's 100%. On the other side of that coin is Mac Jones, who was limited in practice yesterday, not just with a knee injury, but now he's dealing with an oblique injury. What John Lynch was on KNBR this morning and did say they feel good about where Mac Jones is at. That seems to be like a good indication that they expect Mac Jones to be the starting quarterback once again on Sunday. And then to stay on the offensive side here, couple of wide receivers that have missed time. Ricky Pearsall with a knee injury. Steph Jennings with an ankle and rib injury. I mean, the updates on them are kind of split. Like Steph Jennings, John Lynch this morning on KNBR said he'll be a limited participant in today's practice. That is Thursday's practice today. And then Pearsall, he said he hasn't given up hope, but he isn't expected to practice today again. So things aren't looking so great for Ricky Pearsall. Steph Jennings has a chance to return this week. Jordan Watkins still looks like he's going to remain out. But here's the thing, Wayne. I think the wide receiver thing, cool. Like, we've seen how Kyle Shanahan has adjusted to it, spamming the hell out of Christian McCaffrey, getting these other guys involved, Kendrick Bourne, all that. What I'm starting to worry about, though, is the injuries on the defensive line. Now, you already knew they didn't have Nick Bosa, but now you got Alfred Collins, the rookie who had the big forced fumble play against the Rams last week. He's dealing with the knee injury. There's no indication on how serious that is, but he did not practice yesterday. So we'll see what his status is today and tomorrow. But you also are going to be without Yetur Gross-Matos for a couple of weeks based on what Kyle Shanahan said. So that one does definitely hurt you. Robert Beal, other defensive end, also dealing with an ankle injury. And then defensive tackles that are limited this week. CJ West, Kevin Givens, who is dealing with the pec injury and got his practice window activated. And then Kalia Davis dealing with a hand. He's been practicing with the club. So there are so many injuries now on the defensive line, Wayne, that I think that's kind of now becoming my point of concern, because you were already kind of hurting without Nick Bosa. It's clear they don't have much of a pass rush, and now the second guy aside from Bryce Huff who could give you pass rush, and like Gross Matos, for example, gonna be missing this week.
Yeah, not having Gross Matos, their probably highest pass rush win rate guy. I can never say that. We did shows all summer long with the
It's a tough one.
prospect pass rush win rate guy Gross Matos. He's not playing. That's gonna if we thought the pressures were bad the first week Nick Bosa was out, they got a little bit better last week. We went from 5 pressures to 16 pressures. Man, it's gonna this is not a team you want to blitz, because you're going to expose the secondary and those young players to being in crazy matchups with speedy receivers down the football field. I'm not blitzing in this game. I'm playing coverage. And so, yeah, it's going to be tough not having the pass rush, but the Niners are still going to have to find a way to generate it. It looks like Khalil Davis, he's probably going to get the green light to play. I don't know if he'll start. I think this is when you can kind of make the shift to Alfred Collins as your starting defensive tackle. You rotate in CJ West and Khalil Davis. I would rotate Khalil Davis then CJ West, because just from a status point and production point. But so you still have the rotation of the defensive tackles. I think these guys are going to have to play, and I think they will be able to play. The fact that Khalil Davis is even back at practice, whether it's limited or not, is tremendous. But C.J. West, it was the same way when he had the thumb injury. He was right at practice, and he even suited up last week and played a few snaps. So, they're going to need that, because the defensive line still has to stop the run. Jordan Elliott is still there, but I think my starting defensive tackles will be Elliott, Alfred Collins for sure, and then you rotate some of the injured guys. The question is who's going to play on the outside. I know Michael Williams to get his snaps, but who's going to be the guy that's going to be able to win? Do they up the snaps for Bryce Huff and potentially have less production from him? Like, can he play 50 snaps as opposed to 40 snaps? I don't know, but they're gonna have to figure that out. Luke Farrell will probably get some outside. He'll line up as a stand-up defensive edge. They'll figure it out. So I'm not particularly too worried about like the defensive injuries, and who knows how. Can I just, Steph, the pec injury? First of all, when you get a pec injury, you out for the season. That's normally typically what happens. They didn't designate him to the IR until after this, like damn near the season started, and then he goes on the IR, and now his practice window is open before even George Kittle's. So it's so weird, right? And so maybe that pec injury wasn't as severe as what we thought, and the fact that he was back at practice and was he not limited? It doesn't even matter. The fact he was back at practice, the practice window was open, it's a potential situation where he might just be sent to the active roster. And so, look, and they got guys on the practice squad they could bring in. They just signed Bruce Hector. They can bring up Valdez and generate pressure from the middle. But the key, the key is to stop the run. So they got to stop the run with Rachaad White running the helm, because Bucky Irvin won't be playing in this game.
Yeah, and that definitely helps the 49ers as well. Just the fact that the Bucs are dealing with some injuries of their own. Mike Evans, Bucky Irvin, as you just mentioned, not expected to play in this game. Chris Godwin doesn't look like he was practicing today either, so something to keep an eye on. Yeah, he did play last week, but now seems like he's dealing with something new. Fibula injury, I think, is what I saw. So something to keep an eye on for both sides. I mean, both are banged up, and both are 4-1 and surprising opposing teams, right? That both teams have been pretty resilient. They show a lot of fight. So this is going to be a really interesting matchup for me. One thing I wanted to note, we talked about Kevin Givens having his practice window open. Definitely awesome that he's limited already. I think that's a good sign that maybe he has a chance to play come Sunday. Now, the one guy who's not listed here who had his practice window opened is safety Malik Mustafa, second-year safety. We're all looking forward to having him back on the field. And the reason he's not listed here is because he was a full participant in Wednesday's practice. That is definitely a good sign. Now, Kyle Shanahan was kind of asked about him and like a couple of other players that had their practice window open, like, when we could expect to see him out there. He kind of gave a general answer. He didn't specify Mustafa like being ready in particular, but again, like I have to feel like the fact that he was a full participant tells me that he's going to be playing in this game, and they could definitely use that help because we're talking about this Bucks offense that even without some guys, they're still throwing the ball. Like Baker Mayfield has been extremely productive, throw in, pass in, deep passes in particular. Amika Buka has been a huge threat, so they need all the help they can get. I'm circling one guy in that secondary that I want replaced by Malik Mustafa. That is Jason Pinnock for me. Wayne, would you kind of agree?
Absolutely, it'll be time for him to revert back to the to special teams, and he'll go back to that. So your special teams unit will get a hell of a upgrade. You notice some things about him, his unwillingness to want to tackle and things like that. Now you're going to get two surefire thumpers on the football field that can tackle. I still worry about the 49ers safeties and coverage. I'm not saying Malik Mustafa is bad, but he wasn't great. Like he was never great in coverage, and Siegel is okay in coverage. He's on every single play. He's getting beat, but he's not getting burnt, if that's the best way to say it. Like he's not making a lot of brain farts out there, but that stuff, he'll grow into that. So I would like to play him still maybe deep as the free safety, because then I'll have the range of Malik Mustafa to play in the box, to drop back, to come up. So like Malik Mustafa just gives them so much more range, to where like the responsibility and the role, the thinking processing part of playing safety for Robert Saleh would be a little bit less for the young kid in Marquis Siegel, because now you're getting a kid out there that understands the role, understands the safety. And I know this will be his first year playing for under Robert Saleh, but I think he just has the tools, the traits, and everything you need in a Robert Saleh safety. So yeah, it just sounds like everything's going to be green light for him. He's going to be activated from the PUP, activated to the actual roster, and they're not going to waste any time. I think he's super ready to go from the injury. He's had ample amount of time to heal up, and it just seems like as a full participant in practice, if you read between the lines, he's gonna be good to go.
Yeah, really excited about that one. I think you hit the nail on the head as well, because, the 49ers for the last few years, I feel, have had a lot of overlap with the safeties that they have, like just guys who are great coming downhill, great players within the box, things like that. So there is some overlap, I think, in the skill sets of Siegel and Mustafa, right? And so you don't have like a true coverage type of safety, but that's something that I think either of them can grow into, right? Especially Siegel, who we see is in position. Like I think, a lot of people see that he just needs to, attack the ball a little bit better, get some ball skills going, and it'll come.
Yeah, because what you see on the film is like he'll get lost. Like, so the quarterback will kind of give him a weird fake, and then next thing you know, he's either biting up, early, or he's like, oh shoot, I was supposed to play back. Now I gotta use my speed, play catch up. So I think his speed allows him to catch up to the play. And even on the ones where he's playing tighter coverage, man, if he can just understand, like, all right, he's not getting penalties, so that's a great thing.
Yeah.
But if he can, so that means he's not handsy. He just got to turn his head. If he turns his head, he'll have a better opportunity to making a play on a ball, at least getting the PBU opposed to the catch, right? So I'll take the PBU over the catch any day. I'll take an interception over a PBU, but I'll take the PBU. So it's just those little small techniques that he's going to definitely get. He's there. He's just not making a play yet.
He'll get there. Like I think we believe that, that will improve with more reps that he gets, and he could work on these things in practice and whatnot. So, I haven't soured on Siegel at all. I like what he's doing out there. And so that's why I said I want Pinnock to be the one that, maybe hits the bench. But what's interesting too, Wayne, is that I think Saleh has a way of playing the matchup game and being creative and finding ways to get guys on the field in different moments. Like sometimes you see Chase Lucas on the field over Stout, but both of those guys get snaps, right? You see Jair Brown getting snaps as that the big safety. So I wouldn't even put that past Saleh to find a way to get to still use Pinnock, in some certain situations where he feels like it's favorable. The matchup is favorable. So yeah, the defense is going to be all right. But again, the defensive line could use some
reinforcements.
Reinforcements is the right word for sure. And, the 49ers continue to get asked about trade. You're starting to see a lot of trades happening throughout the league now. And so the 49ers just, this has been the topic since Nick Bosa went down. Kyle Shanahan was asked about, the team being 4-1. Like, does this kind of pique his interest to get a trade going? Here's what he had to say.
Going to assess what the situation is. 4-1, as a guy coaching this, does that increase your interest in maybe making a trade or two?
Not really. What increases my interest is who's the guy that can absolutely help us get better this year without hurting us next year, and you balance both of those out. But there's got to be a guy available, and sometimes it's two different things. Sometimes there's one guy who can only help this year. Sometimes there isn't a guy available who's like that. So we'll see what comes up. Sometimes things come up, but I don't see any different right now than how I felt going into the year.
Like in the Emmanuel Sanders trade was really, you said it, we're maybe one piece away. Do you feel at all similar? I know it's a little ways away to that time.
No, I don't feel at all like that. I think at that time we had a Super Bowl defense that was as good as anyone in the league, and probably had been for like 10 years, and it was pretty obvious. And I thought, at the time, some of the receivers we were dependent on weren't there, and we were playing some young rookies, and we thought we needed to add another guy. But yeah, I don't totally see it the same situation as right now.
All right, so I definitely wanted to make sure I included that last bit of, what he had to say there, because it was interesting comparing it to that trade or that season where they traded for Emmanuel Sanders. Different situation. That was with the offense, but as Kyle said, they felt like they were a Super Bowl contending team with the defense that they had, and they did feel like they were at that time, a player away from being serious Super Bowl contenders, right? So I think what he said is absolutely true, that I think this roster as it stands is not, just one player away. Now, does that, mean a trade happens or not? I don't know, but definitely just feels like you're not necessarily swinging for the fences in a trade, but they need bodies. They need bodies on this defensive line. So they got to get something going. How did you kind of interpret what Kyle Shanahan had to say there on just the whole trade getting done?
I don't know if it needed much interpretation. It was just more like, look, Kyle Shanahan, this happens. They go through the motions every year. They're always looking to add someone. I mean, it's kind of like what the 49ers do, right? Whether it's they go all in on a crazy legit player. I mean, I wouldn't say going all in on Emmanuel Sanders was crazy legit. Nobody really, we knew who he was, but he was coming toward the end of his career. We didn't know exactly what he was going to do to come in here, but it was a specific key fit for Kyle Shanahan's offense, and it was bringing in a veteran to help these young wide receiving core kind of get on the same page, right? So, yeah, it worked. Whether he believed in the defense or not, we had the rookie Nick Bosa on that defense, right? He was great, but you still had some young players. D Ford couldn't stay healthy. I think the Niners are still a Super Bowl contending team. They're just not at that health mark check yet, right? They're gonna get back to being healthy, and it's unfortunate they're gonna be missing a key player on the defensive side for the remainder of the season. Henceforth, that's why I think they go out and make a trade. They did this. Was it last year? A couple of years? Just 2 years ago. They wanted to give some relief for Nick Bosa because he was coming back. And they got Chase Young, and they went after a guy that they felt could come in and add or take some of the pressure off of Nick Bosa, take some of the commands of what they needed to do on that defensive line. And unfortunately, he was just like out of gas. Like, we just got a player out of gas, or just didn't really seem like he was all in it, or whatever it was. It just didn't work out. So they might be a little like, lenient on what they're trying to do, but I think they're going to go after somebody, a couple of types of players. I think that they go after, obviously, key specific players on the defensive side. I think they look for some edge guys, right? I think the Niners are lacking edge pressure, because I think the key would be to move Michael back inside for the that's where he was that's where he was dominant on the inside, and so now you're putting him on the outside, which is fine. But if you can go and get an edge guy, and I'm not going to list any names, but the types of I don't want to say types of players, but think about this: John Lynch is going to probably look for players that are on expiring contracts, or there's still some shelf life on those rookie deals. I don't think they're going to get that savvy veteran. If they go veteranship, it's going to be the cheap route. They're not spending money on vets. They will spend picks. Just want to leave it at that. So they will spend a pick. The question is, are they getting a player like a Will Anderson, which you'll spend picks, or are they going to get a player like a Kayvon Thibodeau, which you won't spend as many picks, right? He's on an expiring contract, bada boom, bada bing, and so it's a 1-year rental, pretty much. So that's kind of like where they are. But as far as like the Trey Hendricksons and those guys, I don't think it makes sense to do those trades, even though it makes sense as a player wise, but financially wise, it wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, and I think what Kyle Shanahan says here kind of, mentions that, right? Like, trying to get someone who can help us get better this year without hurting us next year, right? And what he means by hurting us next year is like
it's about to go down. It's week 6. It's the 49ers. It's the Buccaneers. My bad.
I was like, damn, I thought you were pressing your soundboard. It is about to go down.
It is about to go down. Like,
but yeah, I think he's just saying, like, talking about the contract situation. It's not just all about scheme fits. Like, I think they could scheme fit.
Great point.
But contract is important. Like, you talk about 1-year rental. I think that feels like that's the most ideal situation the 49ers would want to try to find.
Yeah,
because it wouldn't hurt them next year, right? It's just the rental.
If they spend a 3rd round pick, correct me if I'm wrong, right? If they spend a 3rd and they bring in a Thibodeau or aspiring contract guy, that's the easiest one I can think of. And then Thibodeau signs next year to a different team. The Niners recoup that 3rd round pick, right? Like, it's like they get a comp pick back. I
think to get a comp pick back, it's under certain conditions, but I believe it is possible.
I thought if that player signed, I could be wrong, but I thought if that player signed, I don't know if it's a 3rd round pick, but it's a pick back. Let me take the number off of it. I felt like we got a comp pick for
Chase Young, right?
Chase Young.
Yeah.
Because he got a deal with, what team he played for? The Saints.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, though. Somebody correct me, please.
No, I believe you're right on that. And the amount that they get back, it depends on a number of factors. Usually it depends on the deal that he signs with the, next team. And then also to qualify for that, I think he probably has to play a certain number of snaps.
Okay. So that's what you, okay.
I'd have to verify that, but
that makes sense. Like, there's factors. Yeah, that makes continue. Right. Got you. Makes sense.
There's factors. I mean, but to your point, that does kind of could give the 49ers some incentive, right, to go after those guys, because that's kind of how they would look at it. John Lynch was on KNBR this morning, as we mentioned, and he gave us a lot of good nuggets to discuss on today's show, honestly.
Oh my gosh.
And
John's awesome.
He was asked about a trade once again, because we've talked about this before. I think a couple of Thursdays ago, pretty much asked the same thing. His answer this week said, quote, "We'll see. I'm having a lot of good and productive conversations. You're not going to find a player that's going to replace Nick Bosa, but can you find someone that makes the group better so we're collectively better? There's so many variables, and you got to find a partner that makes sense. There's plenty of discussions." So that also, to me, kind of hints we're not going for a Trey Hendrickson. right?
Not
Like
right.
you got to just find a complementary piece that can make everyone better. And that's also the most cost effective way
I
to go
think the
about it.
second part of what you said is the main factor, though. I think that second part about making it cost effective is the key, because if you go back and that's how I know these guys. Remember at one point, Lynch and Kyle were kind of like at polar opposites. Now I feel like they complement each other way too well. So if Kyle says, "Yeah, we don't want to look to hurt the team in the future, but we do want to get better now," and then he comes on and says this, it's like they're saying the same thing just in a different way. And so it's really about what they're going to spend and how it affects the cap next year. So like expiring guy makes the most sense for the 49ers. As far as finding a trade partner, that makes all the sense. It takes two teams to tango, sometimes even two impossible, like whatever. It's going to take that. But there's going to be teams that might be willing. So if the price is right, like if the Niners are willing to spend, that's what it's going to come down to. What are the Niners willing to spend to make a trade happen? Because cats that aren't competing will trade, but will you spend what they're asking for? And being that it's the 49ers, Steph, they will ask for King's ransom. I already know. And then the Niners will just be like, nah. And so I respect the Niners so much from their front office. Sometimes I hate when we don't get some of the players that are out there, and we could have got them. Like, why didn't we take a look at the kid that got traded from Baltimore? Like, that would have been a perfect situation scenario. He's a pass rusher. He's on the last year of his deal. He could have came in here, gave us some snaps, some rotation, not a high value guy. I forgot what he went for, but those are the guys. Look for those guys is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and Niner Faithful asked, do you think it will be a blockbuster trade?
No, because of the money. You got to look at the Niners salary cap, right? And then Nick Bosa is going to get paid buku cash next year. Brock Purdy's probably going to get the first part of his big contract next year. Christian McCaffrey's still on the books. Fred Warner is on the books. Yeah, and we don't want to keep restructuring these guys' contracts down the years, right? At some point, we want these contracts to expire. So to get a big guy, no, it's just not going to happen because of the contractual obligations, the situations. It's just not going to happen.
You also got to weigh, like, if
Kittle too, yeah.
A blockbuster trade.
Oh, that means you're giving up somebody.
Well, you're giving up something. You're giving up a draft pick. How high of a draft pick we talking
about? You're not giving up a first.
Is that worth it for a rental?
You're not giving up a second.
Not, right?
You damn sure don't even want to give up a third, right? Like you value your third round picks. It's top 100. Basically, you know what it is? We're not giving up a top 100 pick. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And so hopefully they are able to find a partner. I would be happy with the Arden Key reunion.
Absolutely.
I think there's a number of names out there that could make sense within what the 49ers are looking for. The question is, does that team want to dance with the 49ers in all of this too? Can they make something work as far as the compensation, all that? So I want to ask you this. Let's get into a third down conversion today. And remember, if it's a convert, we agree. If it's a punt, we disagree. 49ers make a trade before the deadline. And I want to make sure that I emphasize that it isn't about whether you think the 49ers want to make a trade, because obviously that much is clear. But given all the factors we discussed, it seems like a lot of things have to align for not just the 49ers, but whatever team they're partnering with in order for a trade to happen. So do you think that the 49ers can find a team to partner up with to make a trade happen? In live chat, you guys let me know as well. Are you converting or are you punting?
All right, so give me a second. So 1, 2, 3, November 4th. 4. So we got 4 games before the trade deadline, right? So 4 more games before the trade deadline. And the Niners keep pressing and finding ways to win, right? That sounds to me they're definitely going to make a trade. I'm definitely going to be agreeing, converting with this, because it's not like the Niners are out of anything. They're already at the top of the division. They'll still be at the top of the division after those weeks because they don't have any more. They don't have any division games. So it's almost like like they need to make a trade. Now I'm not saying it's gonna be blockbuster or big name or whatever, but they're gonna add somebody
yeah.
to this roster that's going to help them continue to keep the wheels turning. So yes, I'm converting.
I'm converting this one too. I think there are enough bad teams that, yes, in the coming weeks, it might not happen like in the next week, Wayne, like kind of to your point. There's still some time here. Some teams are still in the delusional phase. They're still hanging on to hope. Kind of reminds me of the 49ers last year, to be quite honest with you. But
I got to be fair. You can't do that because you know more than I know. We still had an opportunity to win the division. It was the weirdest crap.
They did, but they didn't deserve nothing. And
they didn't. They did not. Absolutely not.
It
but
just didn't. It looked like a lost team. So
they were definitely lost. Energy was off. Chi was off. Everything was off. Coaching was off. They were off. Like the school bus was off. Everything was off. But the issue was the motherfrickers, because of other teams sucking too, they still had an opportunity to win the division. Like damn near down the stretch. It was the weirdest season I've ever seen in my entire life, even though some weird stuff has happened this year. Not from us, but just in the NFL.
In the NFL for sure. Hopefully the picture for other teams gets a little bit clearer in the next few weeks, and that helps teams make this decision a little bit easier for them that, okay, maybe we should probably trade away some players, try to get some assets, look into next season. But yeah, I'm still hopeful. I'm still hopeful the 49ers get something done before.
Converting that sucker, baby. They're trading for somebody.
For somebody. Even if it's defensive tackle. I mean, we were just talking about all the injuries at defensive tackle as well. And while they're not all expected to be multi-week,
Yeah. I wouldn't trade for a defensive tackle. And my reason for that is you can move Williams back to defensive tackle.
True.
So I wouldn't trade for a defensive. I would really look to get someone out there to set the edge, and that can divide, can apply pressure. Because Steph, I remember like we would have these conversations and we would talk about pressures, and there's few ways that account for pressures, and I think the most important ones are hits and sacks. Like after that, hurries. I don't nobody care about quarterback hurrying, because if you don't get him down, there's an opportunity for him to still make a play. But hurries mean that you're supposed to be throwing them off of their game, but our DBs aren't covering for 6 seconds. It's just not how it works. So yeah, so they gotta hit the quarterback. They gotta be more disruptive up front, and that's what they're missing.
Yeah, definitely. And what we're looking at here in this chart is just the 49ers pass and rush EPA per play allowed by their defense when they had Nick Bosa, and since he's been off the field, and you see such a dramatic difference that it is both from the pass rushing and the stop and the run standpoint. I mean, even the run game has hurt just a little bit. I still think it's okay, but like you see the difference of how much just this one player Bosa has made on the team. And when
that young man was effective, like
he was having a hell of a year, especially as a run defender. I think he was having his best season that I've seen as a run defender. So yeah, definitely hurting without him right now. But yeah, you're not just going to find a Nick Bosa replacement, but it's clear you need somebody. He's missed 2 whole games, virtually 3 if you count the game that he exited injured on.
That was the one we lost. We lost that game, didn't we? Yeah.
Yeah. And he still is 3rd on the team in pressures, even Are
you kidding me?
No, man. He was
That's
on
a problem.
It's a problem. You know what else is a problem, Wayne?
What's that?
Number 4 on the list, Yetur Gross-Matos. It's gonna miss a few weeks too.
I thought he had the highest pass rush win rate.
I liked what Gross-Matos was doing. They're gonna be without him for a few weeks, so that kind of just underscores. Yeah, I believe so. That just underscores the importance of getting something done as soon as you can. As soon as
here's my gripe. Here's my gripe with the Niners, though. They worked out several players.
They did.
And They had an opportunity to get a kid that we saw at the Senior Bowl and Ja Joyner. Shout out to my man Ja Joyner, Connecticut native, Danbury, Connecticut, all day, every day. My issue was, he's young, he has a crazy wingspan. He was literally, and I don't want to say this in a negative way toward him if he's watching this show, but if you know how we talk, he was kind of like the poor man's version of the other guy that went to Cincinnati. They got drafted by the Bengals, who I totally forgot his name, just like that.
Shamar Stewart?
Shamar Stewart. He was like, they got the same build, same arm span, right? Just different athleticism. The athleticism is used a little bit differently. I feel like Robert Saleh could have like really took that kid, brought him under his wing. He has that athleticism like the kid Will McDonald from the Jets. Mm-hmm. That's that type of athleticism he has. He doesn't have the speed to power ratio, but he's still a strong guy out on the edge. He's a taller edge. He can set the edge, but he just has a crazy wingspan. The dude can dive and tackle you because his arms can go 18 miles long. Like, I just don't understand. Like, if we needed edge rushing help, why did you go for an interior guy that you brought back just because he was with the team for training camp? Like, just didn't make sense. I don't think we got interior guys on the practice squad. You got Sebastian Valdez, who can move a pile of guys. It just didn't make sense. And I'm not trying to take a shot at Bruce Hector, but dang, like, go back and get Ja Joyner. Give him a shot. No one works with the Raiders. Like, the Raiders don't work with the Raiders. Like, he's with the Raiders.
Yeah. I'm surprised he's still available. It's still an option for the 49ers should they want to bring him back. It almost and it kind of gives me a bad feeling, Wayne, about defensive tackle. We were talking about some of the injuries. It might just be like getting someone in here for this week. Alfred Collins hasn't practiced yet this week.
I forgot he's dealing with a knee injury. Ugh.
Yeah, Collins. You got C.J. West limited, Givens limited, and Kalia Davis limited. So I don't know if it's just Let
me look at my practice squad because there's guys on there.
Look at your practice squad. Yeah, I mean there are. It's just you mentioned Valdez. They got Valdez on there.
Brings about this is a game.
Maybe they do bring Valdez up.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he's been on the practice squad. This is a game where you want to, number one, stop the run, right? I think that's the key to this game, right? Yeah, you're still trying to generate pressure up front, but number one, you're trying to stop the run. So that's what he does. Like, that's his gift. That's his ability. He can also beat guys one-on-one. This lets me know that I think that, with the injuries that you were talking about, and I know he's returning from this pec injury, I think Kevin Givens is going to be activated. I truly do. Just because of the way stuff seems to be going down.
Yeah, you kind of just need him.
You need him. And I don't think that pec injury was as severe because usually when you get the pec injuries, right, guys be out for the season. Like, that's a season, and maybe I'm thinking of a different injury.
Because he missed most of, or like a good portion of last season. This was a injury that happened last year. You don't remember that?
No, I thought the injury happened in camp.
For Givens?
Yeah, Kevin Givens. I thought, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're right, and I'm wrong. I thought the injury happened in camp. And that's when because they never put him on the IR. So maybe it happened last year.
You might be right, actually.
And he returned, but something else happened.
Oh, yeah. It was my bad. It was during training camp. Misspoke. Yeah. It was during training camp that he had that injury. I mean, because usually, Wayne, the one that takes him out for the season is a torn pec. So it wasn't a torn pec, obviously.
Okay, so it's torn pec, not the pec.
That's the one that's the one that will get you out for the whole year.
And that's crazy because the muscles in the chest aren't super big. So, like, what kind of pec injury did he have? That's why I'm saying it. Usually when you get a pec injury, it's a torn pec. We never really hear about a pectoral injury unless it's the torn pec.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, Evan Anderson is the other guy, though, Steph.
Evan Anderson, yes. They call him up. I like what he's shown, so he's an option as well. So they got options at defensive tackle. They'll have to make do. But, the 49ers aren't exactly forthright with their injury information. So that's probably why we have no idea what's going on with him. But we did get some.
You're right. It'd be secret. It'd be
If
like
like
he's injured, but
they don't know us
we
anything, I
still don't
guess.
know if Brock has turf toe. But they're saying
Variant.
whatever. Yeah, we'll leave it at that.
Leave it at that. We did get some updates on now going back to like the offensive side, right? Guys who have been on injured reserved, George Kittle, Ben Barch, Kyle Shanahan earlier this week
They're
said
coming
they're
back
all
soon.
progressing.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll have a chance for Kittle next week, as next week against the Falcons. John Lynch did echo that same sentiment, and then said there's just a chance. I don't think Barch is up next week though. And so it sounds like for Barch, we're going to have to wait a little bit longer. And again, John Lynch on KBR said Kittle has a good chance to return next week against the Falcons, but the 49ers want to make sure he's on 100%, but that he's fairly confident he'll return to practice next week. So Kittle back soon, Ben Barch, who freaking knows? But I do want to, I guess, kind of get back to third down conversion that I don't think is looking so good for us that we made a couple weeks ago because we were like, remember, we were like, Ben Barch is not getting his job back, and we are like, convert. It was on a small sample size, to be fair.
I at this point, I mean, and it's funny because I was about to ask you that. I was going to ask you, like, yeah, like, I'm just the run game is just so
it's suffering.
Gone, and like I've never seen that happen with the Niners team. I will say that I feel like the defenses, are playing the run against the Niners. They're looking to eliminate it, which is for somewhat it's a little bit easier because the Niners are missing a key cog to their offensive line run game, which Ben Barch is, and Dominic Pooney, that was never his strength anyway. So like he's still a work in progress in the run blocking schemes, and so is Colton McKivitz. Those guys are like pass blockers. Like remember, Colton McKivitz was the exact opposite of what Mike McGlinchey was. Mike McGlinchey was the run blocker and struggled in pass protection, whereas Colton McKivitz was better in pass pro and was still learning the run blocking schemes of the outside zone. And that's what you're going to get. Those are the growing pains that you're going to get. I think I'm off for not replacing Connor Colby though. Like I think Connor Colby just has to continue to rep up, has to continue to be out there. I don't care if he's the worst player on the football field every single week. I think at this point you Spencer Burford him this year, just like you did Spencer Burford's rookie year, and you just don't go back to Ben Barch unless an injury takes place, and then you have the reserve ready to move on.
You're saying even when Ben Barch comes back, you want Colby to continue
I think I'll keep Kobe out there and just let him continue to just you're hoping he progresses, right? Like that's the thing. You don't know what Ben Barch every time he gets in, he gets injured. So like you might as well let him really just be the reserve guy. Sort of kind of like what they did with John Feliciano, sort of kind of like what they did with who was the guy that Daniel Brunskill, right? Like that's what we did. We those guys came back, they were healthy, but by then we were like 6, 7, 8 weeks in, and you just continued to rock out with Spencer Burford. You just continued to rock out with the newer guys. So they need one piece you can allow that to happen to. So there's 2 players on the Niners that I wouldn't touch. I wouldn't touch Marquise Siegel. There's a kid that gets burnt on every play, but I don't want to take him off the field. And I wouldn't take out Connor Colby. I think you let those guys just get these reps in there because that's the only way they're going to learn and get better.
I am pro rep for rookies.
Damn, pressure rate's
but I
crazy.
think I gotta like draw the line somewhere. Yeah, I'm gonna read off this tweet from KP Kyle Posey. Pressure rates allowed for the 49ers offensive line through 5 games. Trent Williams is at 4.6. Connor Colby 9.25. And I'm just going to stop right there and just say that the league average is 4.52. Brendel, Pooney, and McKivitz are admirably below that and pretty well below that. So Connor Colby is struggling big time. Like that's not even just a little bit like that. And I don't know, to be fair, I'm not one to evaluate offensive line play. So maybe someone else can school me on this. I
I
can't
need to
say.
know what Ben Bart's pressure rate was before he left.
Sure, yeah, that's fair. That's fair as well. I just don't know if I could say that Connor Kobe is improving like in the games that he's played. I don't know. Like,
Well, I mean, they're sending they're sending Ben Barch is the veteran, and so with Connor, if you look at what they're doing, part of the reason why Trent Williams was kind of struggling out there sometimes is they're just sending these stunts, and he's just not used to the stunts. Like you could tell. So like
head on a swivel.
it's just with one on one, he's fine. Stunts, blocking his guy, waiting for the next guy to come around. He's just like he's kind of lost. And I'm not gonna sit there and praise. I'm not praising. This is bad. This is not good. But I would be curious to see or ask Kyle. Say, hey Kyle, what was Ben Barch's pressure rate? In one game he played in. Yeah, like
Yeah, it's not,
yeah.
not a
Like
long
I just want to know if it was in the 4s, 3s, 2s, 1s. I'm just curious to know. I don't know.
Well, Kyle doesn't care about statistics and
Absolutely. No,
and
and yeah.
data.
Yeah.
We'll have to find that information ourselves. I'm sure it's out there. I'll try to get it, Wayne, and we can have that. Maybe we can have that conversation next week.
That's cool. And I see the comment in there. Listen, man. First of all, they're not even attacking Jake Brindle. Like they're so Jake Brindle is a center, so they're not lining people up like directly over him. But Jake Brindle just doesn't block people. Like it's the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. He's almost like if a guy is coming and he's just not gonna pick him up. Like, you know what I mean? Now if the guy is directly on him, then yeah, he's probably gonna pick him up. But they're not putting a nose guy right on him there. It's like we're getting a lot of wide 9 looks up front from these teams, and then these linebackers are coming in and filling in these gaps. So Brindle's pressure rate is low. Congratulations to Jay Brindle. Like, he's still terrible in my opinion. Like I still think he's the weakest link.
Not as long as Colby's on there, but
because it starts
he
with the
hasn't
center
improved
though.
much.
Like
Yeah,
that's
he
my
hasn't
thing. Like
improved as much
it right. I mean, Kobe's the weakest link, but it starts with I'm expecting more from my center, and I just on film I don't get it. Like stat wise, great. Film wise, I'm like, dang. Like why didn't he do this? Or why didn't he do that? And I'm not an offensive line connoisseur, so I don't want to sit there and offend any of the offensive line people that watch offensive line. But there's a guy that I just started following. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, so I'm not going to shout him out. But he breaks down offensive linemen. And, you would think the offensive film that he's doing for, like, Trent Williams, you would think that Trent Williams is the king of offensive linemen still, and according to everybody that we know, he's the worst offensive lineman on the 49ers football. Like he's terrible this year. Not according to this guy, because he's explaining how they're attacking Trent Williams and what he's doing and who he has to overcompensate for and what he has to overcompensate for. So like, I don't know. I wish I was more into offensive line stuff, but it's just not my thing.
Yeah, I think just like from the pressure rate standpoint, and then because of the standard that we have with Trent, it's not as high as it has been in the past, but he's still far and away the 49ers' best offensive lineman. Don't get it twisted. Now, that was pass protection we were just talking about there. Now, as far as, Kittle and Barch and look, I want those guys to come back because I think it could help in the run game. Like I know
for sure
there's a lot more probably that needs to get situated there. It's not just a single player or 2 players that could probably fix that issue, but they can't hurt, right? Like
no,
the
you're
49ers negative run rate right now is the highest in the league at 16.55%. That's bad. I mean, and we know it. We've seen it with our own 2 eyes. This run game is not doing well. Shout out SF Data Niners on Twitter because he's putting out some of the greatest charts and putting together all the 49ers metrics and data, or just really across the NFL too, but with the emphasis on Niners. I just be eating that shit up. Like I love all these charts, but Here's why I think like it's not going to get better this week. One, because we know Kittle and Barch aren't going to be back this week, but also because if you look at EPA per rush, the Tampa Bay defense is the best in what they allow, and the 49ers, well, their offense has been one of the worst rushing the football. So yeah, it's not gonna be a game where the 49ers just magically start running the football. This is gonna be a game where the 49ers have to pass again, just out of necessity, right?
100% correct. But there are ways to run. And so this is one of those games where you have to figure out how to get the east-west runs working. Like this, like where the toss, the crack tosses, the stretch plays. You have to wear the interior of that defensive line out. If not, there's going to be tons of negative runs. Now, here's the issue. There's not just negative runs from the interior. What's happening is whether they stack the box or not, right? They're playing the run. And so if the Niners come out and run, there's already guys in the backfield before the running back as the running back is getting the ball. That's a negative play. And if you don't have a running back that can, unfortunately, which they should not have to do, like when they get the ball, break that initial tackle, it doesn't even matter, Steph, because the moment I'm on you, and if you do break my tackle, here comes the other, 10 guys. They slowed you down enough for the other 10 guys to come in there and beat up. That's the wear and tear you're seeing on our running backs. And that's why you see so many negative runs. Kyle Shanahan's going to have to get creative, not just in the run game, but finding ways to stretch and tire those big-ass guys up front out. You got to get them running east and west. This is that game. It's Vita Vea, and I'm scared. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. That's the guy. That's the man with the master plan. I mean, this motherfucker dropped back in coverage last week. 300-plus pound nose defensive tackle guy dropped back in coverage, and they ain't throw to him. That blew my mind. So that's a one guy. So you got to find how to. He's not lateral. He's not a lateral guy. So you got to get him moving. You got to get him moving. I know nobody wants to see Isaac Guerrero, but man, like the one thing he can do is get an explosive play. Why are we limiting ourselves? I know he's terrible on special teams. I don't know why he's playing special teams. Just get him a running back snapper too. Change up that run. Change up who we're running with. Because I think, Brian Robinson, they know it's a ground and pound guy. And then when he started dancing, that ain't his strength. So they play the ground and pound. They force him to dance, and we mad he get negative runs. They're in the backfield. Christian McCaffrey, as soon as he hikes the ball, tackle. In the backfield. And I know because this is one of the things that I specialize in. I don't put out data or anything, but I literally have fun watching positive and negative plays. And I like watching the explosive plays and the negative plays. And then I like to, give my insight and analysis on why this worked or why this didn't work. That's what I get kick out of film. Other than that, I don't care for film. But that, for me, is what I love to do. That's something that I've been doing. This is my third year doing it. And I'm telling you, every time I watch a run play and it goes negative, I'm like, well, damn. Like, dude didn't even have a chance the moment the ball was snapped because they were already playing the run. So it makes sense. And I don't know if Ben Barch would change that. It's just they just playing the run, and so we got to figure out how to get back to some way or form of outside zone. So ding, 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 ding. Screen the fuck out of this team. I think you can screen, game, pass, plan this team to the death of them and force those guys to cover. That's just my opinion.
This is a team that does like to blitz quite a bit.
Whew.
Last week, they didn't do it so much against Darnold because they had a lot of injuries to their secondary. So
they still do.
And they still do. We'll
Zion
see.
McCollum is dealing with the injury.
It looks like Jamel Dean was practicing today. So
okay.
We'll see. I mean, we don't know if that means he's going to play, but just something to keep an eye on because, yes, it will absolutely impact how the Bucs play defensively as well. If they do blitz a lot, could be a different ball game for the 49ers. I don't think the Bucs defensive line is better than the Rams. I think We talked about Vita Vea, by far their best defender, but I think their defensive line is built for stopping the run first and foremost.
They're 10th against the runs, right? So like they're top 10 run defense, and that's why they're built. And so if the Niners are forced to run inside because the outside zone isn't working, it's going to be tough, like to run on that front. It's going to be tough, and they got good linebackers that play the run well. So what do you need to do? Get those linebackers in coverage. Look at their pass coverage grades are terrible. Like, I mean, I know Devontae David had the tip on the pass last week, and the interception went to Antoine Winfield Jr. But look, force the linebackers to play coverage, man. Like, psh.
Well, that's one thing Kyle's great at is like I feel like if there's a bad linebacker, he can manipulate the hell out of them. Like he's watching them under a microscope. But Wayne, before we get out of here, we've been here for 55 minutes. It's awesome. Shout out everyone that's been with us in the chat. One last thing before we go. 3rd and long. What's the 49ers' biggest challenge this week against the Bucs?
Yeah, like they're gonna. The biggest challenge for me is it's really on the defensive side. You already talked about the injuries, but their biggest challenge is going to figure out how to limit the explosive plays from the Bucs. I mean, last week they gave up 7 explosive plays in the air, 9 total, 2 on the ground, 7 in the air. That's not even a Robert Sala's defense. That's more like a Nick Sorensen's defense. So I was a little concerned that Matthew Stafford was just chucking and being able to throw the ball down the football field, right? Baker Mayfield's going to try to do the same thing. They run a lot of 4 verticals. They put them wide receivers out, 2 to the left, 2 to the right, 2-by-2 formation, and them guys just go down the football field. And the Niners aren't really that type of defensive team. Like they're not covering like that. So they got to limit these explosive plays. They can't let Emeka Egbuka get behind them. They can't let Johnson get behind. They can't let these guys get behind them. Continue to play the type of defense where they keep everything in front of them. Don't change up the way they play their style of defense. These young players, though, are playing with pure speed. They have route running skills. They can beat our guys. Our guys struggle in covering route runners, right? And so, I don't want to see Diamador Lenore just all over the field because he's trying to help guys out. No, like they have to limit these explosive plays, keep everything in front of them, and then tackle. Period.
Indeed. Period. Mine is kind of on those same lines. Like I'm focused more so on bottling up Emeka Egbuka. I don't know if you can bottle him up. Like he's been on a tear. Since he came into the league. He's been a revelation for the Bucs. They're spamming the hell out of him, and for good reason. He ranks 4th among all wide receivers in receiving yards. He has 445, tied for 1st in receiving touchdowns. He has 5. Only Amon-Ra St. Brown has more. He's ranked 10th in receptions with 25, 12th in targets. So this has become Baker Mayfield's guy, especially in the wake of, in the first few weeks of the season, they didn't have Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin came back, but now they don't have Mike Evans. So Emeka Egbuka has become that guy, like for Baker. And, Baker likes to have someone that he can trust. It's become Emeka. So that's who they got to watch out for. I think you said it. Like we're in agreement that the secondary is going to be tested. It's going to be strained by the challenge of having to cover Egbuka, not just him, but everyone else, and just the deep passes. Like what this picture we're looking at here from PFF is specifically on deep targets this season. He has 4 touchdowns. Emeka does on deep targets.
Got to take that
8
away.
8 catches, 291 yards. That's all ranks first in the league on deep targets. So got to take that away. We're talking about Marquez Siegel. Is this the week where he put some of those improvements in coverage to use? Is this the week where having Malik Mustafa back is really going to make a big difference for you? I don't know, but it might just be the week where you need it, right? So that's the biggest challenge for me, is just kind of limiting him. And then, Baker Mayfield's been great. I think you're going to see another, pretty good game from him just because he fights till the very end. So it's going to be about playing all 4 quarters on defense. It's going to be an entertaining one, no less, but one that's going to make us nervous, Wayne. I feel that.
Yeah. Because you're figuring out that I think the Niners have done pretty good against explosive plays all season until last week. And so and the crazy thing that bothered me is that you knew that's what Matthew Stafford was going to do, but we just couldn't get to him. We got to him one time. Got to get to Baker Mayfield. Got to be disruptive up front. That helps tremendously your young secondary. You're disruptive up front. You're breaking off the timing. He's either hopefully he's overthrowing that ball or underthrowing that ball, opposed to putting that ball on target. So it's a bunch of factors defensively, and I think this is going to be Robert Saleh's game of the year. Until you get to the playoffs, you bring out the game plan for this year. You get your players to execute it, and your defense limits those explosive plays, continues to get better in stopping the run. Man, give him defensive coach of the year, like hands down, like because you're doing it again limited, and you're doing it without your premier real estate boardwalk piece from Monopoly. You know what I'm saying? Like Fred Warner, Park Place, Nick Bosa, Boardwalk's gone. So they getting it in though. Like they can still win this game. They just got to be on their P's and Q's. They got to limit the mistakes out there, and they cannot give up the explosive plays. Not one, especially to that guy.
And on the other hand, Kyle Shanahan needs to find a way to score points again, just like he did last week with Mac Jones at quarterback, and possibly, most likely without Pearsall again, possibly without Jennings again. So we'll continue to keep an eye on these injuries. And don't forget, tomorrow going to be doing my Friday preview show with Kyle Posey, KP. Hopefully going to be joined by Desi as well, so we could discuss these injuries, both for the Bucs and for the 49ers. A lot to get into on that one. So make sure you guys hit that notification bell so you know when I go live. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Not just mine, but Wayne's as well. And like this video if you haven't yet. Audio listeners, leave a rating, leave a review. Again, appreciate all of you that tuned in. For now, have a good rest of your Thursday, folks. Peace.